So we have finally made it to the Houston Astros. I didn't get my trash can lids and everything and start slamming together, but I did promise you guys. As some of you know, some of you don't know, some of you do. I did used to work for the Houston Astros. I worked for their minor league team, and I worked some spring training games many, many years ago. But I worked for their minor league team when they were in Kissimmee for the Kissimmee Cobras. I was the official scorer for a couple seasons, and I PA'd a couple of games when Kevin Baldinger wasn't there. You know, I think he had like 2 or 3 games, and I had the worst time I ever had was trying to pronounce Aesop Choi's name for the first time that I'd ever seen it, and that was horrible. I wish he'd have been there that game so I didn't screw that up so many times. But anyway, so I promised you guys that I would show you that bat one day that I had from when I was on the Cobras one season. I got a bat signed by the team. You can see here's the bat right here. About the only name that anyone's going to recognize is right there. That's Brad Lidge. That's about it. Now I see guys that I recognize on here, like let's see, um, Royce Huffman, who played third base. They called him Pigpen. That guy was constantly filthy. Not that he didn't shower or nothing, but he dove for every ball, whether he was anywhere near it or not. He slid in every base, whether he needed to or not. Um, I think one of the other names on there I saw was like Charlie Carter. Um, he was the first baseman for the Cobras. He was a really good hitter. I'm surprised he didn't make it. He had, I'd say, above average power, and he had pretty good. I'm gonna scoot up a little bit. Now I got the bat out of the way. He had pretty good. Oh, actually, I'll show it to you guys a little more. See, it's an old Louisville Slugger. It was one of the team bats, and you can see on here where everybody signed it. But yeah, Charlie Carter was pretty good. Royce Huffman was pretty good. I think Charlie Carter might have made it. I'll have to look into that one day. I think he might have made it up for like spring training, or made it up maybe for a cup of coffee. I just don't remember. It's been many, many years ago. But like I said, Brad Lidge is the only one on there that really made it anywhere. But enough about that. You guys got to see it. Um, Also, we're gonna do the kind of a push towards 250 subscribers. I'm at like 234 right now. I was all the way up to 236, but then I dipped back down to 234. So we're gonna try to get to 250. So we're gonna do some giveaways for 250. So what you need to do to enter into the giveaway is just, I don't know what the prizes are yet. I'll figure out by the next video. Maybe I'll already be at 250. I hope so. But all you need to do is like this video down here, like it, and then that's the thumbs up. Like it, leave a comment in the comment section, and subscribe. That's the most important part. Make sure you guys subscribe, and we'll go ahead and get a giveaway. I may do a box opening here in the meantime. We'll go ahead and in the meantime between my next video after this Astros one, and we'll go ahead and get a giveaway for you guys together. So far we've had good times and a lot of success in our past giveaways. So we're going to start off with the Astros. Glad I got to show you guys that bat. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our list. Okay, so like always, we're going to start off with the 2 players that we have left off the list. That would be, I guess, technically our 11 and 12. And I've been asked to try to give some type of comparison to the players, whether it be, their style or their look or their feel or how I feel their numbers are compared, to compare them to past major leaguers or other players that may be in the league right now. So we're going to give that a go on this one. The first one we left off the list is Rhett Koba. I think it's Koba. He's a pitcher. He's in AAA. He's 6 foot tall. He's 180 pounds, and he's 24 years old. Last season, he was 8-7 with a 3.45 ERA, a 1.20 WHIP, and 136 strikeouts and 128 innings pitched. Koba is not what we would call a fireballer. At his top end, he hits 94 on the gun, but he thrives more in the lower 90s, upper 80s range. He does get his fair share of strikeouts, which mainly come from his accuracy over his velocity. I'm not making the Greg Maddux comparison at all, but he has great control, only walking 23 batters in 110 innings in AA last season, while sporting 9.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. So clearly something's working for him. He has a very straightforward attacking delivery and low release point that sort of reminds you of Tim Hudson. His ball deception helps him confuse batters and is needed with his less than stellar stuff. He does feature a low 80s changeup and a slider, and can dip into a low 70s curveball, which actually has a lot of break, all which would remind you of Maddox, but his stuff is nowhere near that filthy. For that reason, I left Koba off the list. He may have a career as a long reliever or maybe as a fourth or fifth starter, but without the power behind his fastball or better splits in his off speed stuff, bats are going to find him in the big leagues. The second player we left off the list is Zach DeCenzo. He's an outfielder. He's in Double A. He's 6'4". He's 220 pounds. And he's 23 years old. Last season, he hit 304 with 18 home runs, 61 RBIs, 22 stolen bases, and only 358 at bats. This one may seem controversial. How could you leave off someone with such big power? Not to mention just someone that big. It's not because of his power. He has tons of it. Even way back at Ohio State, hitting 19 home runs and driving in 56 and 51 ball games. It's mainly because of the size of his swing and really just the size of him or how much bigger he may get. His swing kind of shows a little overhead timing mechanism, like similar to like a late stage Gary Sheffield. Definitely not as pronounced though. I would compare his swing or, on his follow through and everything to more of a Juan Gonzalez style. Again, I'm not saying he's that caliber of player. I know I've had people ask me to make player comparisons, and I myself just feel more comfortable using players from my youth to compare people to. Not all my comparisons are that, but that's what I feel more comfortable with. Similar to Gonzalez, the strikeouts can pile up, especially if you compare him to early Texas Rangers Juan Gon. Last season, DeCenzo struck out 106 times in 94 games between high A and double A. He played shortstop in college, but a 6'4", 225-pound shortstop doesn't necessarily play well in the bigs these days. Usually they got to be a lot taller and not quite so big, especially since he has room to add another 10 to 15 pounds to his frame of muscle, hopefully. The 22 steals are a bit deceptive, as he never stole more than 4 bases in a season in the minors or in college. As he adds muscle, he will add power, but it will affect his speed on the base pass and his corner infield coverage. I just went back and rewatched some of my video that I'm editing here. Yes, there is a ladybug flying around here somewhere. If it violently attacks me, I'll leave it on video for you guys. Okay, so number 10 on the list is Trey Dombrowski. We'll go with Dombrowski. He's a pitcher. He's in single A, 6'5", 235 pounds, and he's 22 years old. Dombrowski was 7-9 with a 3.71 ERA, a 1.12 WHIP, and struck out 148 batters and only 119 innings pitched. Okay, hold on one second. I don't know if you guys can see it. I caught the ladybug right there, so I'm going to go set it free, and then I'll be right back on here. This kid is a big fellow, looking like a tiny CC Sabathia out there. He has a very similar delivery to CC and is a big lefty, not quite CC big, but is sizable, with room to grow. He falls off to the third base side, similar to CC, features a very solid slider, but that's kind of where the similarities end. Dombrowski, no relation to Dave Dombrowski. You know how I get excited about legacies, even if they are Phillies administration. But alas, a different spelling. Dombrowski, without the W, leans more on his curveball versus Sabathia leaning on that cutter. He does feature great depth and control with those 2 pitches, but his upper 80s, maybe low 90s if he's got the wind at his back. Fastball leaves a lot to be desired. He also has a decent command or low 80s changeup that keep hitters off guard. The Astros have the ability to get pitchers to find their full potential, so if they can get Dombrowski more towards a low mid-90s fastball while keeping his breaking stuff and that changeup in the same ranges, look for him to find a back-of-the-end rotation spot in 2 or 3 seasons, especially considering Houston's solid starters. I'm looking at you, Mr. Kate Upton. Number 9 is going to be Pedro Leon. He is a second base outfielder. He's in Triple A. He's 5'8". He's 170 pounds, and he's 25 years old. Last season, he hit 244 with 21 home runs, 72 RBIs, and 21 stolen bases, and 483 at-bats. Shortstop, big swing, that certainly reminds you of Miggy Tejada. Would have been Leon's breakdown in his first year in the U.S. After defecting, waiting for 2 seasons, and a series of injuries, the Leon at shortstop project has luckily been shut down. The past season, he played mostly second base and center field, showcasing his plus speed in the latter. Still, his swing does remind me a lot of Miguel Tejada's. Small, compact, but with serious pop. Both short guys, but Leon has a speed element that Tejada could only dream of. And not to take shots at Tejada's arm, but Leon possesses an absolute cannon, which is probably why shortstop seemed like a really good fit, but it wasn't. The talent is definitely there, but he still is very, very raw with the bat, the bases, and in the field. Currently, it either leaves the ballpark or the umpire rings him up on strike three. Last season, he had 118 hits compared to 160 strikeouts. The Astros just need to work with him in most aspects, except for his arm. And they can have a solid outfielder for years to come. If he can make better contact, get his base stealing ability a little more consistent. He was thrown out almost 33% of the time last season, stealing, and can pick up a tick in his outfield reads, just reading the ball better off the bat. Look for maybe a this season, or at worst, maybe a next season debut if he can start putting all that together. Number 8 on the list is Luis Baez. He's an outfielder. He's in single A. He's 6'1", 205 pounds, and he's 19 years old. Last season, he hit 248 with 11 home runs, 38 RBIs, and 1 stolen base, and 214 at-bats. Baez is the youngest player on this list, and after signing out of the DR, Houston has big expectations for him. He stands about 6'1" and currently weighs around 205 pounds, but he has plenty of room to grow with some work in the weight room. His speed is nothing to write home about and will probably only drop as he adds more upper body muscle. He projects to be more of a corner outfielder, but if he packs on too many pounds here in the States, first base may be in his future. Swing-wise, he has shades of Alfonso Soriano, minus that big pronounced leg kick that Soriano had. Baez doesn't possess the speed nor the raw power of Soriano, but his glide plane and overall approach at the plate does rival the young Yankee years for Soriano. Since he's only 19 and has a few years in the weight room ahead of him, that's why I have Baez lower on this list than most people may expect. Maybe Alan Richardson could come put him through the Reacher workout, and he'll have a faster climb than the projected 2027 debut. Number 7 on this list is Tyler, you know I'm about to butcher this name, Guilfoyle. He's a pitcher for High A. He's 6'4", 215 pounds, and he's 23 years old. Last season, he was only 3-6, but he did have a 3.21 ERA, a 1.18 WHIP, and he struck out 123 batters and only 84 innings pitched. Mechanically, Guilfoyle has a very smooth delivery. Not sure if his mechanical engineering degree helps with that or not, but he has a very straightforward approach to the plate. I know you guys have asked for MLB comparisons for these players, but his delivery seriously reminds me of the Duke from Major League, the Yankees pitcher that Jake Taylor called his shot against. No spoilers here. Than any big Major League Baseball name. It's smooth and it's fluid and has some power behind it. At Kentucky, where he was used mainly, talking about Guilfoyle, not the Duke anymore, where he was mainly used out of the bullpen, he struck out 80 batters and 51 innings pitched in his last season and had an impressive 1.5 ERA to boot. He features a four-seam fastball that has good life, a solid cutter, and has a pretty good changeup that plays well to both lefties and righties. The Astro bullpen could always use a little bolstering, especially from a strikeout arm. So we may see Guilfoyle get a shot in 2025 or 2026. And for the record, Willie Mueller, who played the Duke in Major League, did pitch 2 seasons for the Milwaukee Brewers, where he had 1 win and struck out 7 over 14 2/3 inning in his career. As far as I know, he didn't hit his son in a father-son game, though, but it's never 0%. Number 6 is Colton Gordon. He's a pitcher. He's in AAA. He's 6'4", 225 pounds, and he's 25 years old. Last season, he was 7-7 with a 4.14 ERA, a 1.34 WHIP, 1 save, and 151 strikeouts, and 128 and 1/3 inning pitched. Okay, so I'll admit it. This one took a little brain racking to come up with a comparable style pitcher. Gordon has a solid, consistent lefty delivery, and luckily it finally hit me. Mark Burley. He has a slightly more up and down delivery than Burley did and doesn't feature that exaggerated back leg swing push off, but his delivery is very similar. Gordon redshirted at Florida, go Gators, and did a stint at Hillsborough Community College before settling in at UCF. Side note, which I'm famous for, one of the most attractive women I've ever met as a former UCF softball player, so UCF always holds a special place in my heart. That and the semester that I went there. But I digress. Gordon has had the Tommy John, but who hasn't these days? Some folks have had multiple. But he seems to be back in the swing of things, missing bats again on the regular with a low 90s fastball that carries very heavily up in the zone, and his low 80s slider that has some sweep on it, especially to lefties. He can make a fellow lefty look bad. We may see him sooner than later, depending on where the Astros want to use him, either out of the pen or at the back end of the rotation. But he does feature some of, if not the best, command in their system. Number 5 is Kennedy Corona. He is a center fielder. He's actually on the 40 man to start the season, or at least right now he is. He's 5'10", he's 184 pounds, and he's 23 years old. Last season, he hit .251 with 22 home runs, 65 RBIs, 32 stolen bases, and 459 at-bats. Corona came over from the Mets in the Jake Maresnick deal in 2019 and has steadily improved every season for the Astros farm system. In 2022, he hit .278 with 19 home runs and 28 stolen bases, driving in 67 in 107 games. His best season thus far for the Astros. But he didn't fall off too much last season, hitting .251 with 22 home runs and 32 stolen bases in 117 games. Corona is one of those rare players who work to pack on an extra 15 pounds of muscle, and it has not affected his speed. Usually the more weight players add, the weaker those legs get on the bases. He is highly regarded as one of the best outfielders in their system, and his defense sets him apart from some of the others that may have made this list. His swing reminds me of Vaughn Grissom, which I'm still very high on, even though we traded him. You're welcome, Boston. They both feature a quick, long, arch type swing, and their approaches to the plates at the plate and on the bases are very similar. Corona may possess a little more speed than Grissom, but Grissom gets a nod on power. Corona's defense and his steady improvement all around has earned him a spot currently on Houston's 40-man roster. If Jake Myers can't get things rolling this year at the plate, Corona may have a real shot at roaming Minute Maid's outfield's park in 2024. Number 4 is Shea Whitcomb. He's a shortstop. He's in AAA. He's 6'1", 220 pounds, and he's 25 years old. Last year, he hit .240 with 35 home runs, 102 RBIs, 20 stolen bases, and 538 at-bats. Okay, so if you're an actual Astros fan watching this, you'll quite enjoy this comparison, at least as swing and approach are concerned. Whitcomb reminded me a lot, at the plate at least, of a bigger, stronger Craig Biggio. They both feature a quick, compact, powerful swing, like they're hitting the ball with some anger in them, like some hate in their heart. Whitcomb is not quite the overall hitter that Biggio was, but he possesses more power than Biggio, since he is a little bit taller and a lot heavier than Biggio was. I also don't think he's going to be as willing to step into a pitch or 20 like Biggio did, but Whitcomb definitely hits the ball hard, especially to the pull side. But his strikeout numbers leave a lot to be desired, striking out almost 1.5 times a game in Sugarland. He did bring his average up 21 points last season, but the swing and miss is a big concern. He has sneaky speed on the base pass, having stolen at least 20 bases each of the last 3 pro seasons, or each of his first 3 pro seasons. If he can cut down on the strikeouts, maybe lean into a pitch or two like Biggio did, and up those walks, he might have a real shot at being a 25-25 player. Number 3 is Will Wagner. He plays second base, kind of AAA. He's 5'11". He's 210 pounds, and he's 25 years old. Last season, he hit .337 with 7 home runs, 38 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, and only 249 at-bats. Okay, so if you watched my 2022 Bowman's First Sleeper video, you will have heard Wagner's name already. He is a very solid hitter who finds holes gap to gap and consistently gets on base. I know what you're thinking though. How's his arm out of the bullpen? As good as his dad's? Is he the next Shohei? Stop thinking that. In 2021, they did let him go 1 1/3 innings in a blowout. And he did strike out 2, and I don't think he gave up a run. But no, he is definitely not his father. As an Astros fan, and myself as a Braves fan, we all know Billy Wagner. But his son is a hitter and not a closer. I mean, maybe with the ladies he is, but not on the mound. He's played all positions in the infield over the past few seasons, setting up for a utility infield role in the foreseeable future. Not nearly as impressively, I would compare Wagner's swing to a Luis Arraez, making fluid contact foul pole to foul pole and having a knack for finding holes. They both aren't going to do much in the power department, but Wagner probably has a little more pop, but he'll never chase 400. Houston is pretty solid in all their infield positions, so a starting role is not quite in Wagner's future yet. But he may get a shot at a utility coming up in the 2024 season. Number 2 is Julio Rabania. Hopefully that's close. He is a pitcher. He's in Double A. He is 5'11", 170 pounds, and he's 22 years old. Last season, he was 10-6 with a 3.18 ERA, a 1.32 WHIP, and he struck out 114 batters in 116 innings. So, speaking of Billy Wagner, this kid's delivery and mound presence definitely has shades of him. He doesn't quite have Wagner's speed on the fastball, but his secondary pitches can make that fastball look deceptively faster. This one may upset some folks, and if you had asked me last season about this, I wouldn't even have dreamed of having this kid anywhere near this list. And I'm still unsure if his 2023 season was just a fluke or is just his natural progression. He cut down his walks per 9 innings from a horrible 6.18 to a more respectable 3.72 in 2023. He also brought his hits per 9 from 10.38 down to 8.15. They've used him as a starter and out of the pen, and he had success in both last season. If he can add a few miles per hour to his fastball, with his secondary pitches, he may have a real shot at making the bigs in 2025 or 2026. Lefty arms are a premium, and if his growth continues and he makes more progress this season, I'm hoping it was progress and not just a fluke year. He will get a shot in a year or two. Number 1 is Jacob Melton. He's a center fielder. He's in Double A. He's 6'3", 208 pounds, and he's 23 years old. Last season, he hit 245 with 23 home runs, 55 RBIs, 46 stolen bases, and only 396 at bats. This one should be no shock to anyone. The big swinging lefty is widely regarded as Houston's big upcoming stud. My comparison in swing should not be surprising either, but Melton has some shades of Matt Olson in him. Melton does have a few more moving parts pre-swing in his approach, but the swing and follow-through are pure Ole. I don't think Melton will ever possess that kind of power or break the minor league home run record with the tourist like Crash Davis, but Melton will make up for a lot of that with his speed. Hitting 23 home runs and stealing 26 bases last season, Melton projects as a 25-40 guy, and with a few of the questions in the Astros outfield, Melton may get a shot next season to roam Minute Maid's outfield. McCormick had a solid year last year, but has been riding out a year 1 arbitration contract, and Kyle Tucker is sitting on year 2 of his arbitration. The Astros may not keep both of them around in the future to save on some salary, especially with Alvarez and everyone else coming up in the deals. Look to see if Myers struggles. Even though the Astros do have Corona on their 40-man roster, they may just want to see what they have with Melton and what he can do in a low-pressure lineup sooner rather than later. So that's going to wrap up the Houston Astros list. Let me know. Like I said, leave a comment for the drawing that's coming up. So let me know, if you agree with the list, who you wanted to see on there, who you had a question about. Just leave a comment that said, "Hey, how you doing?" Whatever down there, so you can enter into the 250 subscriber giveaway. So like, subscribe, leave a comment so that I can track you down, and then we're going to figure out the prizes in the next video. And once we get to 250, we'll go ahead and start getting you guys out some prizes just like we normally do. Thank you guys for watching this list and for joining me now that I'm back in the swing of things. If you want, save a little bit of time, you can subscribe over here and you can like over this way. Oh, there's another ladybug in its approach, but the swing and follow through. Why can't I say that? Oh, there it is. Follow through. Follow through. Follow.